So today we have a customer's Xbox One X that's not showing any picture, and there's a couple things that we're going to look into to troubleshoot what it could be. And first, just want to make sure that it's not just their cable or something and we're getting no signal. The HDMI port looks clean. I don't see any pins loose. So I'm guessing it's one of two things right now. It's either a bad hard drive or the encoder chip for the HDMI port. First, we'll test the hard drive, get all this crap taken apart, and we'll put the hard drive into my docking station, into the PC, and we'll see what we're getting. And underneath the disk drive, that's where you'll find the hard drive on the Xbox One X. So we'll get that out of there. There we go. Some of these screws out of here, and we'll get the hard drive out of the hard drive caddy here, or chassis, or whatever you want to call it, and we'll get her plugged in and see what happens here. And we're going to run Crystal Disk Info, and the little anime chick on the screen, she's going to tell us if she's happy or sad. And look at that, it actually looks like the hard drive is good. Let's click on it here and see. Oh my god. Power on hours. Not too bad, actually. So yeah, this is a good drive. But we're going to test a new one anyway, just to be sure, because sometimes if there's corrupted files or something on that hard drive, all we would need to do is clean it. So if we get picture with the new hard drive, we know that there's still something not happening that's, good for this. Get it plugged in there, and we are still getting no signal. So my assumption here is we have a bad encoder chip. So we're going to put the old hard drive back in and work from there. So we'll get this all taken apart, and I absolutely love this little X-clamp tool. I work on a lot of Xboxes, so this makes life a lot easier than having to dig at the, with like a flathead screwdriver or something. So we'll get the heat sink off here. There's the APU, everything all the way down to the board itself. And right up here, that is TDP158 model number encoder chip for your HDMI ports. And I'm going to check the pins on this too and make sure that the port's good. And all the pins are solid on the port. And we checked earlier that it didn't look bad on the outside. I'm just heating up the thermal paste here so we can remove that. And look how clean it is. Oh yeah, 4K. And I don't use flux for the initial removal of this IC chip. I just find it easier to just get it removed. Just use the right amount of heat. And we're going to look through the scope now. Get that up on screen for you guys. So that's what it looks like removed. So now we're going to put some flux on here. We're actually going to remove the unleaded solder that the factory uses. And we're going to replace it with leaded solder to, one, make the melting temperature lower. So we're not having to work at 700 plus Fahrenheit to get the job done. It's going to make things a lot easier, and leaded solder is more reliable and better. So this is going to look nice, and it's going to be fantastic. So let's get this flux cleaned up here. You can see the pads, all that flux or solder is removed. I'll get this wiped up here, and it looks good. So right when we clean it up, we're just going to put more flux on it anyway. Look at that. We just don't want to have a compilement of old flux. It'll turn brown and it'll harden when it starts to lose that liquid state. Let's get some solder on these pins here for getting ready for our new chip. And then we'll clean up this flux here. There's a little bit for the grounding plane in the center. Very nice. And I'm noticing I see a little, I've got a bridge actually on 2 of the pins or 3 of the pins there. Not a big deal. We'll just go over them one more time here. Yeah, see it there? Just 2 of the pins are bridged, so we'll get that fixed. Get some more flux and solder on there, no big deal. And now what we're going to do, we want to make it so our chip isn't teeter-tottering around on that center lump of solder. So we're going to do a little painting with Bob Ross and our soldering pin here, and we're going to flatten this out and spread it on the grounding plane as even as we can. And this is going to make it so it's nice and easy to put the chip on. And there we go, looks good. Get some flux in there because we're going to float the chip like a boat on the ocean on top of the flux. And there is an orientation. See that little white dot? The chip has a white dot as well in the corner, and you want to align that white dot with the one in the bottom right. So there is an orientation to the chip. Make sure that you follow that or you will not receive image. So let's heat this guy into place. I'm just going to hold the heat nice and even, move around here and there, that way we're not getting hot spots. Sorry about blocking the camera there, but look at that. Flawless orientation. Looks great. And the next step, we're actually going to push down on the chip, on the center, heat it up, and we're going to reveal a bunch of bubbles. See the solder bubbles? What happened was we pushed the air bubbles that were underneath the chip and completely soldered it to the grounding plane. And if you don't do that step, this will also not work. And now we're going to get rid of the bubbles because those are going to create bridges, and it's very easy. We're just going to put more flux down, and then we're just going to go over all the pins with the soldering iron and ensure that they are all connected. Go. I've got a little bit of solder that I put on the tip of the soldering iron to kind of aid in getting these all put together. There we go. And you just want to keep going over them until everything looks clean. Just kind of keep an eye on it under the scope. And you can tilt the motherboard if you really want to look and see if they're connected. Because sometimes they look like they're connected, but they're actually not. And even one single pin not being connected can result in not having image. So everything looks great here. We're going to clean it up, get all that isopropyl and flux off there. Looks beautiful. Let's get everything back together real quick to test it. Put on the X clamp, get our power supply put in, get our fan put in, the hard drive, and then the faceplate, and we got it plugged in. Let's turn it on here. And the initial power up sometimes takes about 5 seconds there. There we go. And fan spinning. Let's go check out if we get image on the screen. And we're going to see the APU come up in a splash screen or boot animation. And look at that. We have solved this customer's problem, and another console has been saved. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.